So, what happens when humanity's greatest symbol of cooperation comes to an end? By 2030, the International Space Station or ISS is scheduled to return to Earth, marking the conclusion of more than 3 decades of presence of humans in the space and one of the most extraordinary human partnerships in modern history. For more than 25 years, astronauts from different countries have lived and worked together, showing that even if conflict on Earth arises, cooperation in space is still possible. But now the countdown has begun, and the end of IS may open a new chapter for space exploration. A chapter driven by private startups, global rivalries, and ambitious plans for the moon. Since 2000, at least one human being is always aboard the ISS, which is a football field sized science laboratory orbiting the Earth at around 8 kilometers per second. It was built through a collaboration between the USA, Russia, Europe, Japan, and Canada. Now, the ISS became a symbol of international peaceful cooperation between countries after the Cold War. As a former NASA science manager, John Horak described it that the ISS is a cathedral to human cooperation and collaboration across borders, cultures, and languages. For decades, astronauts who might have been political rivals on Earth instead became teammates in orbits, conducting experiments in medicines, future space travel, climate science, and physics. Even during rising geopolitical tensions, especially Russia-Ukraine war, cooperation aboard the ISS continued uninterrupted, highlighting how space can remain neutral ground for humanity. But the ISS is aging. After more than 30 years of orbiting the Earth, its systems are outdated, maintenance cost is rising, and structural wear is increasing. So, to safely retire the station, NASA has selected SpaceX to make a special deorbit vehicle that will bring the ISS back into Earth's atmosphere in 2030. The plan is precise. The deorbit vehicle will slow down ISS speed, then it will direct the ISS into a path where a controlled re-entry will be created. And then the deorbit vehicle will ensure that the debris falls into a remote Pacific region known as the Point Nemo, the same isolated ocean location where the earlier stations like the Russia's Mir in 2001 was safely disposed of. Now it will be the final chapter of the largest structure ever made in space. After the ISS disappears, only one government run space station will remain in orbit, the China Tiangong Space Station. Now, so this shift could reshape global influence in the low Earth orbit, and it will raise questions like leadership in space, scientific collaboration, and global competition beyond Earth. But the United States is moving in a different direction. Instead of another government funded space station, NASA plans to rely on commercial space stations built by private companies. Companies already working on this future include Axiom Space, Blue Origin, and other emerging space firms. Now, in this new model, the government will pay companies to send astronauts and run experiments. The space will become a part of the commercial economy, and access to the orbit will not only remain to national agencies. This represents a fundamental transformation of how humanity operates in space. Now, according to the French space official Lionel Sachet, the ISS sits at a turning point in the history of human spaceflight. For decades, the space exploration balanced between competition during Cold War and cooperation during the ISS era. Now, the future may include both US led commercial stations, China's independent orbital presence, and future moon bases planned by multiple nations. International treaties still declare space the shared heritage of humanity. But whether those agreements will hold during the lunar colonization remains uncertain. The next phase of space exploration could define will humanity go forward together or divided. For many astronauts and scientists, the end of ISS is deeply emotional, as John Harak called it quite sad. Because ISS was never just a machine, it was the proof that humans can cooperate, conflicts can be set aside, and that humans can work together on something much bigger than Earth. But endings are also beginnings. The post ISS era could unlock deeper space exploration, permanent lunar bases, commercial space travels, and scientific discoveries that could improve life on Earth. As former European Space Agency chief John Jacques Dodin once said that if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. The ISS helped humanity go far together. But what comes next will decide the future of space itself. If you enjoyed this deep dive in the future of space exploration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share because the future of humanity is already written beyond the skies.